I remember one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up very sick to my stomach with cramps and was using the bathroom in an empty field and realized, where am I? How did this happen? How did I go from being at the top of my career to being homeless, sleeping behind a dumpster? It still boggles my mind that I got to that point. But I got very sick and I ended up in the hospital again. And it was at this time that they came to me with the information that I was no longer HIV positive, but I was full-blown AIDS. My immune system was completely gone, and I had contracted a severe form of cancer from having no immune system. So I was put into a group home for men who were suffering from HIV and AIDS. And living in an environment where you have nothing. I'd lost everything that I'd ever owned. I went into this group home with a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. I had lost absolutely everything I owned. Everything was gone. And here I am, stripped down to nothing, living with 7 strangers in a group home. So as I try to process all this information and try to figure out what to do next, I find out that I need to apply for disability because I no longer am physically in any shape to work. And I'm told that disability takes several years usually to get that. It's a 2 to 3 year long process. But for some reason, God blessed me and I received my disability in 4 months. And before you know it, I was moving out of the group home and I had been put into an apartment complex for people who had an income, but it was subsidized housing. But it seemed like God was starting to restore me and put me back on my feet. So now that I've got my disability and I'm living in my new apartment, I don't have anything. I have no money. So it was all on gifts that some people had given me that I was able to get a mattress and slowly started to be restored and get some furniture. And I could see a life starting to form again. And so I started to seek God again. And I found a church in St. Petersburg, Florida called Calvary Chapel. And you have to imagine how I looked at this time. I didn't look like an average person. My eyebrows were shaved off. I was very, very disturbing looking. I looked like a crazy, psychotic, gothic, satanic creature. I just was very disturbing looking. And I walked into the church on this Sunday morning and I sat down and I listened to the service. And of course I had to take a bus there because I had no transportation anymore. So at the end of the service, a man comes up to me and his name was Adam. And he reached out to me and introduced himself. And I could tell just from the look in his eye that he was real and he was genuine. And he wasn't freaked out by me, by the way I looked or anything I had to say. And I tested him, and he was pretty faithful and true, and he was there for me. And I started to attend church at this Calvary Chapel, and I insisted on taking the bus, but on times I would let Adam and his family, he has 6 kids and a wife, I would let them come and pick me up, and I would go with them. And I started to make some friends at the church, but somewhere, somehow, news got out that COMA was back on his feet again, and the bars started calling, and the nightclubs started calling. And once again, I chose to turn around from God and walk back into the world and embrace COMA and cocaine and that whole lifestyle all over again. After I'd lost everything and become homeless and slept on the streets, almost died from AIDS, I chose to walk away from God again and walk back into the world and embrace myself and think about me and my fame and my attention and the money and the drugs. And I started to perform as COMA. And I can remember it was Easter Sunday. I performed at a nightclub in a part of town here called Ybor City. And I was at my most outrageous peak. There are pictures that show that that event where I was just so completely gone out of my mind. I had so many events lined up. I was going to be hosting an underwear fashion show. I was going to be judging a national pageant. All this stuff, all COMA. All this was going on, and I was just living for it until May 16th at 3 o'clock in the morning.